Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Welcome back to the channel, and today we have another instalment of what I affectionately call my Thoughts from a Sofa video. Been a long while since I've done one of these, but regular viewers around these parts will know that sometimes I get these thoughts about being an adult collector, something that's going on in my world, and it's very much subjectively focused on my world and my view. And I just want to sit down in front of a camera on a hot mic and share those thoughts. And so here I am, back again, sat on my little comfy chair in the corner of my man cave, ready to share some thoughts. And the topic of discussion for today's video is McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. I am officially very, very salty about McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. I've described myself as such in a number of videos of late. However, my collector's edition Wonder Woman figure arrived yesterday. Today is Saturday. I've had a big, long man-child playtime session with the figure in preparation for recording a review, possibly tomorrow or Monday. And it's kind of tipped me over the edge. I'm PO'd, man. I'm really, really PO'd with Toddy and his DC Multiverse line. Now, it'd be fair to say, I think almost indisputable at this point, that the DC Multiverse line by McFarlane Toys is a flawed line. It has been since the beginning. There's lots of things we could catalogue about the figures that they produce and the way they've gone about producing them that DC Comics fans who want to collect action figures of their favourite characters could complain about. And believe me, I have done. I try not to be too neggy on the channel, and I certainly don't like action figure collector drama, but I've been critical. I've offered criticism about the line. I think the articulation is limited. The scale is janky as fuck. I mean, the figures are so disproportionate to one another in terms of what your imagination would expect with regards to being comic book accurate or, superhero movie or cartoon accurate, that it defies belief sometimes, like some really random total disproportionate. I think it's disproportionate. Yeah, the scale's all over the place. There is what could be considered a confirmed misogynistic dearth of female characters being designed and produced for the line. Much wanted female characters, might I add. It's really, really, really sad that some very popular characters haven't seen a release as of yet. The repaint situation is absolutely balmy as well. I mean, there's not a day goes by that you don't flick past the DC Multiverse Instagram page and there's a Jokerized version of a character, or the exact same character but slightly different. Like just recently there's been a black and grey version of the Nightfall Batman that was done in blue and grey, which was also a repaint of, or there was a convention exclusive at the San Diego Comic-Con. So just the same figure 3 times over with different repaints, and there'll be a black and white version and a Jokerized version and a glow-in-the-dark version and waterproof version or whatever. The repaint and figure re-release situation is absolutely balmy, and it has taken an extraordinary long amount of time for good classic superhero costume looking versions of the characters to make their way into the marketplace. We've had death metal and we've had like vampiric monstery versions. I can't even think what version that is. All these random kind of obscure storylines that they've plucked inspiration from because it's spiky and laden with chains in the so Todd can McFarlaneise the characters. It's been an absolute age to get a decent Nightfall or Jim Lee version of Batman, or a classic look Wonder Woman, or a classic look Green Lantern, or a decent Superman with a great head sculpt, which I'm still not even convinced they've reached yet. But regardless of that, I've been buying DC Multiverse figures, and I've been doing so for a couple of reasons. The first is that there is actually some stuff I quite like about the figures, despite the limited articulation. I think there's some really interesting sculpting goes into them. When I think of like Lobo, or the Megafig Bane, or the Jim Lee Batman, they're well sculpted and they've got good texture details, they've got good fabric details, there's interesting stuff going on with the sculpt of the capes and the masks and such like, that actually interests me, and I think they make nice, interesting display pieces. And once you've kind of settled on a bit of positioning, a pose to put them in, which frankly is probably the pose that Todd wanted you to put them in the first place anyway, we all know that. then they're decent display pieces. And despite that catalogue of things that I'm critical of, the price was good. You know, some of them, my DC Multiverse figures, I picked up for like 16, 17, 18 quid, no more than 20 quid for them. And for the price you're paying, I can dismiss some of those criticisms, like the scale being a bit janky, or you know, the articulation being a bit more limited comparable to other lines that I collect. I liken it to sort of living in a small town with one pub. And as a DC fanboy, McFarlane Toys are my one pub. You know, I want to go out for a pint with my mates. I live in a small town, can't afford an Uber, so we're just going to get together in the local pub. Do you know what? The pints are priced reasonably, and it's warm, and you could do a hell of a lot worse. Is it the best pubs to have ever graced the shores of the United Kingdom? No, but it's our pub, and it's the pub we've got, and it's the pub that's in our small town, and it's serving beer. So that's where we're going to get together, and that's what DC Multiverse is like. I'm a DC fanboy. I want to collect DC-related action figures that nostalgically send me all nice and reminiscent about my time with DC Comics, particularly during the 80s and 90s when I was a young lad. And so they're my one pub in the village. You know, I'm going to pick them up because they're inexpensive. Well, at least they were inexpensive, and this is one of the contributing factors that's started to tip me over the head and make me feel increasingly salty about McFarlane. At least one reason, and I'll start with that one. Because the prices are going up. That collector's edition Wonder Woman that I've just picked up, which was, I could only get here in the UK from Amazon for a start, so I'm not supporting any of the independent retailers that I like to support, was 30 quid. It was £30, a good tenner more than I've traditionally been paying for DC Multiverse figures. And yes, you could argue that there's a little bit more in terms of the accessory selection that's been thrown in with the figure, but it's not offering anything particularly over and above what you would get with a 1999 McFarlane figure that I would have bought a year or two ago. And that's not the only example of the price creeping up of late. I'm noticing that the figures that were $19.99 are now being sold for $23.99, $24.99 here in the UK. We've got the whole McFarlane Toys exclusive for the Crisis on Infinite Earths line of figures, which was extraordinarily hiked up in price to the point where I've just not even looked at them, not even bothered considering them, because the price is not commensurate with the quality of the figures you're getting, I don't think. So even if it wasn't a collector's edition figure like the Hawkman or the Wonder Woman, where the price has been hiked up because, I don't know, the box has got some foil text on it, the prices are creeping up anyway, and they're starting to creep up more in line with your Marvel Legends, with your G.I. Joe Classified series, figures which I think offer you a much better play experience and a much more interesting action figure hands-on experience than the DC Multiverse stuff does. So that's number one, reason number one why I'm starting to feel a little bit salty. And Wonder Woman being a 30 quid figure and playing around with her today, I'm like, I've paid over the odds for this. For the enjoyment I've got out of it today, I've paid over the odds. I will do a full review, by the way. This is not in lieu of a full review, so watch this space. I'll record it tomorrow night or Monday or something. And I like to, as hopefully many of you know, I don't like to review straight out the box. But this has happened today on top of what has been weeks of me saying I've been feeling salty about McFarlane Toys, because we are feeling, and I as a member of this community over here, feeling in Europe and the UK very neglected by McFarlane Toys. Figure scarcity is enormously taking the fun out of collecting DC Multiverse figures. It's very hard to get hold of them. What quantities do come into the country are of limited supply, and then they are frustratingly delayed. They miss delivery estimates enormously. So my Catman figure, which I pre-ordered last summer, I think was like August time that I put the pre-order in for this, still hasn't arrived in February now. So we're looking at 7 months later and still no sign of the figure. Not seeing a Captain Atom, a classic look Captain Atom on the shelf anywhere. You know, I circle through the HMVs and the Forbidden Planets of the worlds to see if they've got any in. It's never there. The Christmas deco Batman that I ordered for a bit of fun at Christmas time still hasn't come. Was supposed to arrive in November. You know, bit late for Christmas. I've ordered a new Superman because there's a new one of those that I like the look of. No sign of that. Was due in January. Animal Man, no sign of that, due in January. The Wonder Woman that came yesterday has been delayed for months. I keep getting emails from Amazon, or kept getting emails from Amazon saying it's been delayed. So stock is limited over this side of the world. When figures do actually go up for pre-order, which is another issue, there's been some figures we've not even seen made available to retailers over here to sell. But when they do actually go up for order, they're low in numbers. The supply is not there to meet the demand, which creates a kind of secondary market that is insanely driven price-wise around that scarcity. And if they are made available to order, they are frustratingly delayed, with no correspondence, no word out to help us understand what's going on there. And the retailers that I speak to by email, that I shop with regularly, are saying, "I'm sorry, dude, we don't know. We'll get told when we get told," kind of thing, which is really not great. And it's taking McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse to a point where it's I mean, it's like Hasbro during the pandemic kind of delays here. It's ridiculous. Now, if you layer onto that the fact that as a UK community member, DC Multiverse collector community member, I'm feeling salty and frustrated about delays, about figure scarcity. I'm having doubts about price when compared to quality. And my last pub in the village analogy is becoming less and less, you know, a way for me to reconcile that in my mind. When you layer onto that the fact that whenever I go onto Instagram or whenever I go onto Facebook or Twitter, McFarlane Toys is going, another new release, another new pre-order, another new release, another new pre-order. And then in a very short window of time, I'm then seeing North American collectors making YouTube reviews about them and taking diorama photos on their Instagram. And I've not even got a figure that I pre-ordered 7 months ago. It increases that level of frustration, and it increases those feelings of neglect. It's like Todd's just whatever, forget about it. You know what I mean? Basically, if you're a woman or not a North American, not from the United States in particular, then, you know, not interested. Just not interested. And I don't think my intention is to sit here and claim that he's a misogynistic xenophobe. That's not my intention at all, even though I've just realised that's kind of what I've done, which I didn't mean to do. Sorry, Todd, I don't mean to. Well, maybe the misogyny a little bit, man. We all saw the Shartimus interview. But I think folks could understand why. At this point now, I'm like, no new pre-orders. That's it. I'm going to stop. I'm out with McFarlane Toys. The price increases are not proportionate or commensurate with the quality of figure I believe I get. I feel like as a customer base outside of the United States, we're being ignored and mistreated, and you know, whoever wants to be in a kind of weird relationship like that. And I think it's just kind of time to wrap it up. I just don't think DC Multiverse is meeting the grade anymore. I really don't. And I know there's folks out there who've said for a long time the DC character line should really be with a different manufacturer. Someone else should be making these figures and would do a better job. And I think they're possibly right. But at this moment in time, as I said earlier, I'm going to stop in a minute because I'm starting to repeat myself. That last pub in the village analogy just can't apply anymore. So I pre-ordered Hal Jordan. I pre-ordered the classic look Hal Jordan that was announced a week or two ago. And I think that's it. Unless something really comes along that makes me go, oh man, I need that in my collection. Like a good Black Canary, a Huntress, Barbara Gordon Oracle figure, you know, Big Birds of Prey fan, a Zatanna, a Hawk Girl, Fire and Ice. Where's our Fire and Ice, Todd? Come on, man, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. If you want me back, get some decent female characters. I love these characters. Female Dr. Light. I mean, I was massive into the Keith Giffen era Justice League stuff as a young lad, and, you know, God, I'd even take something obscure like a Maxima or, what was her name? The Crimson Fox from Justice League Europe. Just something. A decent Lois Lane wouldn't go amiss. You know, a decent, like, action reporter, power suit kind of thing would be great. I'd love that. Well, I say I'd love that because, you know, I am absolutely at a point where I'm thinking of packing it in with DC Multiverse. And that's really sad because I'm looking over at my trade paperback collection on the shelf over there, and there is a much heavier weighting of DC Comics collections from the 90s through to the early noughties than there is any other line. They're less than Image, less than Marvel, even DC Vertigo stuff, although I've got a lot of DC Vertigo over there, you know, so I'm just really saddened by it in a way, and I think that's possibly why I'm feeling so salty and feeling like I want to sit down and express myself. So what is it I'm actually saying? I don't know what it is I'm actually saying. I just needed to get it out there to some people who might get it and understand where I'm coming from, because my wife's just like, yeah, so just stop buying them. She doesn't get it at all. But I think, you know, certainly if you follow my channel for DC Multiverse reviews, which frankly I don't think you do, let's call it out for what it is. Most people who hang around these parts and follow my channel and have been with me for a while are here because of G.I. Joe Classified. We all know that. But, you know, in any case, if you are around because of DC Multiverse, I've kept my pre-orders. I will keep them in. I'll review those figures when they come in, but I don't think I'm going to be ordering any more McFarlane Toys. Too expensive for too low a quality, with just supply chain customer servicey type issues that are now starting to tip me over the edge. And this is from a guy who collects loads of Hasbro lines as well. You know what I mean? The fact that I'm finding McFarlane Toys more frustrating than Hasbro, that's got to be saying something, hasn't it? Surely. I think that's probably what the top comment will be on this video. Yeah, but what about Hasbro? So there you go. All right, I've had a ramble. That's thoughts on the sofa. This video clearly will have limited appeal to a limited number of people who even give a shit or care about what I've got to say on this subject. But yeah, I'm getting about done with DC Multiverse, and I'm a bit sad about that. So there we go. All right, folks. Well, thanks for watching. If you made it this far through my 20-minute meandering ramble about DC Multiverse, then respect to you and thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and swing back around these parts again sometime soon for another video if you'd be so kind. All right, see you later, folks.